endless complaining, then just don't watch the shows. It's okay. Like, this is a constitutional republic. You're not obligated to listen to my show. Justin, what was the line on the air with Jim? It's not a freaking airport, man. You don't have to announce your departure. Like, you get these black pillars. The thing about black pillars, where everything sucks all the time, is they're like, well, we're demanding accountability, but you're not great. So am I. That's not you're endlessly complaining about things you don't know anything about. Like, that's all you do. Like, he'll shut down the border, 10 people across a month. Why wasn't it zero? Okay. Well, can you just acknowledge going from a million to 10 is a big deal? That way, and there's a cost to that. And the cost you see is in, polling numbers around the midterms. You can't let this negative vibe constantly set in. That doesn't mean healthy debates about policy are not welcome. Hey, I'm not a big tariff guy. I've said that 1,000 times. Debating policies are fine. Debating policies are fine. I think a lot of the so-called damage from the tariffs was dramatically over-exaggerated. Even people who don't like them haven't acknowledged that now. The economy's motoring, 4% growth. But the black pill complaining and whining all the time about the administration, it's just like, man, what team are you on? Holy Moses, man. So you don't have to watch. It's okay. There's a door, go find the freaking exits. Cause I don't really give a shit. I'm not here for anybody's money or anything.
All right. Let me I'm going to say my opinion is, and then we're going to get into what other influencers that I trust and get my news from are exactly responding to what he just said. First off, yeah, that's a good accomplishment. I have been saying the whole time during this administration that the one thing, and that's the one thing that I will give him kudos on, is securing that border. But besides that, bro, you were the big dog like Cash Patel, who are on all these podcasts, all these shows, talking a huge game, acting like you're a tough guy, saying, oh, we're going to go in and we're going to destroy this deep state, Cash Patel. We got the government gangsters. We're going to go and take them out. We're going to destroy the deep state day one. We're going to go in the FBI. And we're going to cause carnage. We're going to fire everyone. And what has happened? The complete damn opposite. And I'm going to show you in a clip because I got a whistleblower that actually spoke about this yesterday that we're going to react to. But this is just a joke, dude. We're holding you to account to the words that you said. You talked a big game as well on Epstein. There was nothing. You literally said question everything, don't believe anything. And then within a year, you flip the whole script and you're like, believe me, guys, I've seen it. You guys aren't going to see it, but I've seen it. So you believe me. And because we don't trust you and because we don't see any action from you, just words, we're calling your ass out. You're a grifter. You are all talk. It's almost like our government pays people like this to push propaganda to get a certain side aggravated at the other side. That's what I'm starting to see, because all these guys who talked a big, tough game, like Cash Patel, example, they did nothing the minute they got into these positions of power. And it's because they're all talk. And in regards to the black pill, a lot of people have been talking about this black pill and how it's a bad thing. I completely disagree. I think the black pill is when you recognize that both sides don't give a fuck about you. And when you come to terms with that black pill moment, then we, the people, not the crazies on the left or the right, like the extremes. And I feel like it's the Zionists on the extreme right and the crazy liberals on the left. But majority of, I think like 95% of Americans and people throughout the world, we can meet in this middle ground and start talking about issues, how we're going to elect people that aren't propped up by big donor organizations like AIPAC, the biggest donor there is. And moving forward, electing normal people to be put in these positions, because we've elected politicians forever. And since the founders, it just seems all they do is spend our damn money on these foreign wars. Also, they fund and create these organizations with our taxes. And we pay for people's insurance, free healthcare, monthly payments to newborns, to parents in Israel. They get free everything from American taxpayer funds. Where is our help? When are we going to get the help that we keep getting promised every single election cycle? I'll wait, because I'm a 3-time Trump voter, but let me tell you, I would never vote for the Republican Party again. Both sides suck. Both sides sell us out every chance they can get. They're literally talking about sending billions to Israel last week again, and I'm pretty sure that bill passed. It's almost like every 2 weeks this administration is sending billions to Ukraine, billions to Israel, and that's a big critique I had over the last administration. So Dan Bongino, you can take your words and shove them right up your ass, you grifter. You destroyed yourself with that comment. You're literally blocking and talking shit on the audience that was their original viewers. I actually used to watch them every day, but let me tell you something. I will never watch Dan Bongino again unless it's to mock and laugh at him, because he is an absolute failure and a scumbag for the way he is actually went about this whole situation with blocking people who actually used to like him and listen to him. Now this FBI whistleblower comes out about Dan Bongino. Let's see what he has to say.
Bongino declares war on black pillars and grifters trying to hijack MAGA.
Kyle Seraphin, Steve Friend, both FBI whistleblowers. They've been incredibly critical of the FBI, of course. They blew the whistle on that corrupt organization. Kyle even arguing, I think, for it to be torn down because it's so corrupt. And by the way, Dan Bongino was really calling for that before he got in there, suddenly changed his tune. But Kyle and Steve, welcome to the show. Steve, I think you're going to break some news here on the show, something you haven't shared anywhere else, specifically about Dan Bongino. I just want to kind of maybe start with you and kind of give you the floor on all of this, because you were supposed to go back to the FBI and help root out this corruption.
I was multiple times, actually. It seems that Dan Bongino was really interested in when he first became nominated or appointed to the deputy director of the FBI. He called me. He was very earnest about the entire situation. He said to me, look, I know I'm going into the lion's den. I'm going to be surrounded by a bunch of vipers there. I know one thing about you, and that is that you will tell the truth. And I'm sorry. He apologized, actually, for his falling out that he had with my good buddy, Kyle Seraphin, about what happened about a year prior to that. And he asked me to be a member of his staff. I accepted that, and that was in March, just before he became the deputy director of the FBI. And he acknowledged and then lost my phone number or something to that effect. In fact, I think he turned 180 degrees bizarro world version of that, because according to my sources, he went into meetings with Senator Chuck Grassley and was saying that I could not be brought back to the FBI because I have character issues. So a little bit of a contradiction there from him. And then, as things bored themselves out over the summer, the FBI director Patel announcing that 10 FBI whistleblowers are going to be reinstated like Jello. Put your finger in it, pull it back out. Nothing's changed. You're back to your job. Get your bennies, got your back pay, and none of that happened. And then me personally, they brought me back as a humiliation ritual a couple weeks ago. It kept me in the office for 3 days just so Kash Patel could issue me his autographed copy of a letter firing me.
Let me tell you, Kash Patel was my favorite person at the beginning of this administration. I can't even stand looking at that dude anymore. Everything about this administration screams failure and Israel's bitch. Sorry, I try not to cuss, but it's true. Zionists have taken over this whole administration, and all these big-time talkers like Dan Bongino and Kash Patel have sold us out. I really want to know the stuff they know behind the scenes that they're keeping from us. And then Dan Bongino reacts in a way where, like, he's the first one that says, trust or don't trust anything, question everything. Now believe me, just because. Believe me, guys. Yeah, you kick rocks, Dan.
So just to bring you back in a humiliation ritual, basically.
Oh, without question. Kyle and I had bandied on his podcast about the idea of Brian Cole being no way, shape, or form the individual who's responsible for the January 6th pipe bombs on December 5th. Said that he doesn't even meet the physical attributes of the individual in the video, and we're led to believe that $11 billion agency was unable to find somebody who used their own car and credit card and cell phone, and he purchased bomb-making components 3 years in advance because he was really uber upset with the election that was happening 3 years later for some reason. He's apparently clairvoyant. And the FBI had basically jammed up an autistic My Little Pony fan. And then within a few hours, my attorneys had communicated with the FBI, and they decided to not represent me anymore. The FBI then contacted me on a Sunday night, told me I had to come to work, even though I didn't have a reinstated security clearance. They brought me back with no job, no responsibilities, no gun, had to be escorted around the facility at all times. And they gave me a vehicle and said I had to drive 180 miles round trip so that they could fuel it up if I needed gasoline. And then by the end of the week, they leaked to the New York Post that they were intending to fire me. But fortunately for them, they didn't fire me in time before the journalist reached out. So there could be some Privacy Act, some employment law violations on their behalf. But nonetheless, very much in lockstep with what Dan Bongino has been doing. When they did eventually fire me, the MAGA Inc. social media influencer crowd jumped to attention to
the MAGA influencer crowd of grifters on X right now is just becoming ridiculous. And it's always the same people that push the narratives. For example, Iran bombing, going into Venezuela, which I've heard people from both sides agree and disagree. I disagree with that. I think we should be focusing on issues at home instead of stealing other people's. And then they lie, and then they say it's because he's producing drugs that kill Americans. Those drugs come from China and go across the border to Canada and through Mexico. Why aren't you going into those countries, Trump? Because you're a liar. It is all about oil. It is all about control. And it's because Maduro didn't push the Zionist message. He was very much against Israel's control over his country.
Smirch my reputation and say that I issued some sort of veiled threat to the director of the FBI because I said if you jammed up an innocent autistic man so that you could get the president's approval because you're so damn thirsty for his approval, then you probably deserve to be in a prison cell for the rest of your life.
It's that same crowd, Kyle, that, you know, was out there holding like Epstein binders. It's like, it's that same group of people who suddenly came after, you know, Steve, who are now, when Dan Bongino says, I'm back and I'm going to go after independent media, you know, you're seeing them. They're like the pro-Zionist crowd. They're the Epstein binder
That's
crowd.
what I just said.
They're the people that now have like Pentagon access crowd, like the access journalist crowd. Those are the people that like came after Steve. And they're like in the Twitter feed to Dan saying, I can't wait, Dan, bring it. We want to see it.
Yeah, they're also getting ratioed every single time they do that over on X because that's
what I was just speaking about, guys. If you actually go into the comment sections on these clown grifters like Gungelman, or I can't even remember their names, that's how irrelevant they are getting ratioed like nothing I ever seen before. And if you actually go into anywhere that Dan's commenting, he is getting ratioed like no other. Like, he's done.
not a particularly popular opinion. I think there were people in America that thought when they heard the term America First that it didn't mean like America First trademark and our brand means whatever it is that Donald Trump says equals, you know, my opinion. I don't think there's a lot of people that really wanted that. There are obviously some. And then there's another group of people that apparently wake up every morning and wonder what cause is dear to my heart. Oh, yes, the defense of Israel is a big one. And like,
that's what it all comes down to, folks, is Israel and Israel's control over our government. And it is so freaking obvious at this point. Like, it's crazy. Oh, let's hear what you say on this.
You know, I saw this story a couple times. They wrote like, you know, the place is in chaos. I was like, well, how? By what metric is it in chaos? You know, it'd say, well, the world's going to be a dangerous place because the FBI is in chaos. I'd be like, the violent crime rate's the lowest it's been in 2 decades. The homicide rate's down 20%. It's the lowest ever recorded. And then you get these dipshits in the media. They're like, well, the FBI doesn't do homicides. Really? The FBI does. Gangs.
All right. Let's not pretend that. See, this is the thing. They give us crumbs of what we're promised. For example, it is the politicians that create the policies, that put the positions in place that make these cities, these states expensive, dangerous, drug-infested zombie zones. And you're not arresting the big dudes. And they're on both sides, by the way. And that's what we're talking about. Just like when you say you're bringing down predators and you have locked up 30,000 predators, that's good and all. But the biggest predators are the one running the country that you're turning your blind eye on every single chance that you had. So that's why you've lost the public trust. And that's why we no longer care to hear what you have to say, Dan, because you're a sellout scum. And this is one of my favorite America First Patriots, Andy Frisilla. If you haven't, or Frisilla, if you haven't, follow him on YouTube. But he actually also goes off on Dan Bongino.
You know, you got Dan Bongino coming out now, who, you know, is dude, the fucking dude comes out. He's been in the FBI for a year. He resigns from the FBI. And then his first post is, fuck all you black pillars. Well, you're the reason there's black pillars.
That's right.
Because you're the one that talks tough. You're the one who says all these things. And when you went in there, nothing happened.
Right.
Okay. And so you may be upset that people are upset. But instead of attacking everyone and saying, oh, they're fucking this and that, why don't you ask yourself why they feel that way?
How do they get there? It's because you went for years talking about the Russiagate scandal.
No, you
went
the
for
motherfuckers
years.
on this
Exactly.
fucking show saying, oh, don't ever let the Epstein story die. And then
You're
he
right.
sits on 60 Minutes or whatever show that was, is like, look, I've seen the files. There's nothing there.
It was Fox News, who is like neocon establishment.
When you're clearly not telling the truth. And then
Yeah.
come to find out there was a whole lot more there. There is a whole lot more there.
Still is. Yeah.
Okay, so you can't sit here and call everybody who's mad at you some sort of traitor. Real talk, dude. Like I wonder, like, did they put him back out in the public to try to control the narrative?
Felt he was more effective there.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because, dude, how he's come out thinking he's going to fucking tough talk everybody.
I was about to, that's
Like,
not going to work.
Get the fuck out of here,
Yeah,
dude.
That's not going to work, right?
You went there. You talked all this shit for years. You finally got in. People were excited. Nothing happened, and now you're mad that they're mad that nothing happened.
Well, listen, he's definitely not leaving because he feels like there's some shit going on that they're not doing. That's not the reason. You know what I'm saying? Like he's not resigning because he feels like nothing was being done. That's not the reason. He would have said that.
I don't
He
know.
wouldn't have came out
but
saying fuck the black people. You know what I'm saying? That wouldn't have happened.
I don't know. But I know this. People have a right to be upset.
For sure.
And to come out and say, fuck you guys for being upset, that's a bad move.
No,
and
bro.
that you know, that good luck.
And that's where the black pill comes, ladies and gentlemen. When we no longer have branches of government from each side being for the people, that's when we got to unite and start talking about future plans on uniting this country and putting it back to what its founders wanted it to be put at.
An X post you made this morning about how Obamacare sucks. Well, during your time at the FBI, did you happen to file any indictments or make any arrests against government officials that committed billions of dollars in fraud and money laundering through Obamacare? Now, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt, Dan, and maybe you just didn't know that in the year of 2023, just alone, there was more than $20 billion in fraud committed just through Obamacare. Now I get it. You're no longer at your position at the FBI anymore, and you no longer have the power to conduct these types of investigations. But my main question to you is, why would you dispose of the position that you were actually capable of draining the swamp in? Like, you know, arresting politicians that were caught on camera sleeping with minors, or even shutting down Epstein's blackmail ring that is still going on today. Or better yet, just filing indictments and committing arrests on people within our government that have committed billions, if not trillions of dollars in waste, fraud, and abuse and used our tax dollars to do it. But you have some nerve to come back on camera and call us all black pillars and a bunch of grifters. For what? Because the pressure's on you because you didn't do shit while you were at the FBI?
Facts.
Well, I hate to break it to you, Dan, but these airwaves and internet that you're coming back to are dominantly controlled by individuals that are demanding accountability. We're no longer going for the bullshit, Dan, of the trust the plan. And it's just been a year since this administration has been in office. No, there has been months of individuals just in Elon Musk alone that has showed crimes that have been committed by government officials
on both
and they're
sides.
still walking free today. Do you really think we care about your midterms before we care about the accountability and things we were promised through this administration?
And that's something I keep hearing, like Tim Pool and clowns like that, and Dan Bongino and Trump saying, oh, what about the midterms? Bro, both of you guys are two wings of the same bird. We're not going to vote for either side because both of you guys suck and sell us out at every turn. So screw the midterms. Let's start fixing issues now. Why do we need to wait till midterms? It's because they just like to promise you all these blanket, promises to get you all excited. And then once elections are done, they do nothing they say they're going to do. But anyways, I think Dan Bongino's career is toast. I think it's over. I think he's exposed all of his cards, and the way he handled it was just terrible. If he would have went in and said, okay, look, guys, I know I promised this. I know I said this, but it's just too corrupt. I'm sorry. I tried and I failed, but I'm coming back, and I hope you guys will, listen to me and at least give me a chance to explain my side. If he would have came like that, a lot of people would have respected him and at least given him a chance to explain himself and redeem himself. But the way he's handled it by blocking everyone that has called him out for, not keeping up his promises or what he said, that's career ending, bro. And I don't think there's any turning back from that. Let me know what you guys think. Have a blessed day. See you guys soon.